Johnny Mac, Football 24/7 on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. I'll take that. Football 24/7 across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel with NFL insider John McMullen, all presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com. This is our day, Johnny Mac, where we feel good about Thursday. Can you see that?
I don't know. I don't know if I can get you there, Krause. I'll do my best.
Do your best.
Trying to come up with reasons. But remember, people, this is the reigning Super Bowl champions who happen to have the greatest quarterback of all time, who is 44, which I will bring up, but he also threw for 400 plus yards and 5 touchdowns last week. So he's kind of an outlier.
We'll get into this game on Thursday and turn the page from that 21-18 win against Carolina, which is now just a log on the 2021 football schedule. There's nothing left from that game to talk about, to learn from, or to utilize when the Bucs are coming to town, Johnny Mac, on Thursday night. Although I will say there is, depending on what time you're listening during the course of the day, there is some positive vibe about this football team, despite the fact that it's Tom Brady coming into town. Maybe overly optimistic, perhaps, but they got to show up and play football. And as you've said, on any given day, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Oliver Stone made the movie for a reason. This is not college football. Any given Sunday, this will be Thursday, but you get the point. Anybody can get beaten. The Tampa Bay's already lost once this season. So, I mean, there are two positives. One real positive, and that's the short week. You never want to be going on the road. You want to be the home team. So the fact that the Eagles are the home team is a big advantage for Tampa Bay. From their perspective, they have to travel. So that alone makes it a far more difficult aspect of it. Then Tampa Bay's got some key players banged up. Tom Brady obviously has a thumb injury. He's going to play, but it's not 100%. Lavonte David, their great linebacker, he's going to miss the game. He's not going to play. Rob Gronkowski, they said, it's going to be close, but he didn't. Nobody practices, so that's the wrong terminology. Nobody practices on the short week. They're just walkthroughs. So the injury reports are just an estimation. The estimation from Central Florida today was that Rob Gronkowski would not have practice, so he didn't participate. So it's going to be very iffy that he's going to play. And then there's a lot of other players, Jason Pierre-Paul, Chris Godwin. These are big-time players who are probably going to play, but they're not 100%. So the Bucs come in pretty banged up. The Eagles have their own issues. We know the offensive line, it starts there. And the biggest news today, Dallas Goedert on the COVID list. That's not good news. I don't see how you get two negative tests 24 hours apart. It's Tuesday. You got to have that by Thursday. Technically, it's possible. However, what everyone tends to forget with these COVID cases is you need 2 tests 24 hours apart, but you also have to be asymptomatic. Now, Dallas Goedert was listed as out for Monday's walkthrough in an estimated fashion with an illness. So that indicates, by my investigative thinking, he's got symptoms. So the larger point of this is I would not expect Dallas Goedert to play on Thursday. And that's another problem. We talked to Bruce Arians today, reporters. We got a conference call with Bruce. And I asked him, what's the most difficult part of playing on Thursday night? Because he's been doing this a long time. He's used to it. You got to do it once a year. The NFL makes every team play once on Thursday night. And he said health. And a lot of guys who could play by Sunday on a typical week couldn't have played on a Thursday. You don't have to go back very far, Krause. Zach Ertz, before the Dallas game, tested positive, was put on the COVID list, was asymptomatic, was activated, able to play in the game. That was a Monday night game, larger week. He got activated on Saturday. If it were Thursday, he wouldn't have been able to play.
Right. Football 24/7 with John McMullen. I'm assuming, based on your investigative insight, if Dallas Goedert tested positive even Monday, and he does have symptoms, and he's vaccinated, it doesn't matter. Does the test occur on game day? So
you can test on game day. So
all the way up to a certain time, or what? Oh, so you can, right? Okay.
So you can, and there's still time if everything worked out perfectly. But that missing notification with illness is an indication to me he did have some symptoms. So it's going to be really difficult for him to get cleared. But you never say never until he's ruled out. And that probably would come tomorrow, and we'll see. But it's going to be very difficult because of the timing. If it were Sunday, I'd say, yeah, there's a good chance he'd be out there still. But with Thursday night, the timing is probably going to be too tight. And you just hope I'm wrong and hope he plays. But, the Eagles also brought back Noah Tagay. People might remember him as an undrafted rookie who the Eagles wanted to keep on the practice squad, was picked up on waivers by Indianapolis. They put him back on the practice squad this week. Well, able to get him back. They protected him today. So that's probably a clear indication that they want to elevate him to the active roster for the game. And that's just a contingency plan for Dallas Goedert not being there.
Let me ask you about preparation for the game from our standpoint. I want to ask you about Jalen Hurts. I think he spoke to the media earlier this evening before you jumped on this report. What did you learn from the Jalen Hurts interview? Anything new? Anything different? Or
well, Jalen is
same stuff, just a different team coming in.
Yeah, I mean, that's just Jalen, the way he goes about things. And we always, some people believe in bulletin board material, some people don't. But Jalen Hurts is not going to say anything that is going to raise the eyebrow of anyone, not just the competition, but also his teammates, the organization. And sometimes that's good. It's probably not great for fans that want answers or things like that, but it is what it is at this point with Jalen, and he's very focused and he's very on message. And I joke about that, cliches, big on t-shirt slogans. But the positive part to that is, and you kind of saw in Carolina, was not playing a good game, doesn't get too hot, doesn't get too low. A lot of people, and you saw it probably with Carson Wentz a little bit too much over the years, that if things were not going great, and the ship, sprang a leak, so to speak, there was a little bit, I don't want to use the term panic, but there was a little bit of inability to focus, and things just kind of unraveled and went from bad to worse. And Jalen Hurts, it went the opposite. It was pretty bad. It's pretty bad in that first half. It's pretty bad. Even Nick Sirianni admitted early in the third quarter. guy just persevered. And I wrote about this on Philly Mag with the Eagle Reports. Just kind of persevered and kept plugging away. Didn't get too down. All of a sudden, he makes some big plays. It started with the big play downfield to Quez Watkins, but also running the football. He made some big plays. And all of a sudden, the Eagles went from down 15-3 to winning the game 21-18. And it was interesting because if you look at that Jake Elliott field goal in that game at the end of the first half, it was 15-3. He banged it through from 58 yards, turned into 15-6. That was the play. People look at the block punt, and Michael Clay brought this up today, the special teams coordinator. That was the play that changed the momentum of the game. And it wasn't like the 61-yard field goal against the New York Giants that kind of spawned the Eagles' Super Bowl run. But it was a miniature version of that. 15-3. Think about that. Second half, take away that, final score, 21-18. Take away Jake Elliott's field goal. It was 15-3 Eagles. That's how big that play was.
Interesting thought. We'll see how it plays out going into the game on Thursday night. This, of course, with Brady coming in, represents, if you look at the schedule, John, the big guys, the big names, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, they had big games against this Eagle defense. And that's what we might expect from Tom Brady. He's coming into this game analyzing how he's going to beat this football team. And it's almost, no matter what Jonathan Gannon does, Brady's going to have an answer for what the DC does.
Well, I mean, Tom Brady's kind of seen it all. So, I know a lot of people have started to I don't want to say call Jonathan Gannon out, but he certainly took a lot of hits after those back-to-back performances against Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, against Patrick Mahomes in the Chiefs. Kind of righted the ship against Carolina, but it's kind of personnel driven. Not nearly as explosive offensively. The quarterback not nearly as accomplished. And then you throw it on a short week. Look, if you have a regular week, you're not coming up with anything Tom Brady hasn't seen.
Right.
So when you beat Tom Brady, you generally do it one of two ways. You either win a shootout like the Eagles did in the Super Bowl, just made one more play. The play was Brandon Graham. People talk about the Philly special. The play was actually Brandon Graham getting the strip sack, which essentially sealed the deal. Because if he doesn't get that strip sack, they probably go down the field and score. That's just the way that game was going. And you kind of feel that as it was going along. Or you take his other Super Bowl losses. They were both against the New York Giants. And what the Giants did was they put pressure on him right up the middle. Justin Tuck had the one great Super Bowl. Their front fours were tremendous in both of those Super Bowl wins. They made Brady very, very uncomfortable. They got him off his spots. They sped him up. And they did just enough to win the football game. That's how you have to beat Tom Brady. Eagles have a very good interior defensive line. We know that. Javon Hargrave's having a career year. Fletcher Cox finally awoken against the Panthers, so they're playing well at a positive time. But it's also strength versus strength. The Tampa Bay offensive line is one of the best in football. And the interior, Ryan Jensen, another player's a little bit banged up. Maybe that helps. He's one of the best centers in football. Ali Marpet's one of the best guards in football. So it's strength versus strength. And we'll see if the Eagles can get enough pressure. But if Tom Brady has time, is on the spots, yeah, they're going to be tough to spot. Tough to stop. Think about the receivers as well. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown. I mean, Chris Godwin's a little, Chris Godwin's a little banged up as well, so maybe you feel good about that. So they have a lot of players who aren't at 100%, but this is a really good team. And I do want to say this, Krause, and we know it. We know Philadelphia. We know what it's about, what they want. Stop talking about the running game for this week. At least press pause. At least press pause. This team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, have led the NFL in rushing defense in 2019, 2020, and in 2021, where we are today, they are giving up less than 50 yards a game rushing. And if you don't know Vita Vea, who is their giant defensive tackle who just destroys people on the interior, you are not going to run the football against this team. Period. They will be the first team since the Williams Wall Minnesota Vikings 2006, 2007, 2008. They led the league in rush defense. 2019, 2020, 2021, Tampa Bay is probably going to finish the deal. Don't complain about the running attack this week. That's my advice to you.
Boy, do I hope now that Dallas Goedert gets that second negative COVID test before game time, because he's the one or one of the few game changers from an offensive side of the football that could have impact in this football game.
Well, while I say that Tampa Bay is so good at stopping the run, they're 32nd against the pass. Now, there's two reasons for that. One, it's easy to throw the football to modern NFL. Two, nobody can run against them, so all they do is pass. So a lot of those numbers are inflated. But, Antoine Winfield Jr. is banged up, might not play, has a concussion, is trying to get through the protocol. They've had a ton of injuries at corner to the point where they signed Richard Sherman off the street and had to have him starting a couple days later. So the Eagles are going to have to find a way to throw the football. So this has got to be a game for Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins and Jalen Reagor and probably Zach Ertz more than Dallas Goedert. They're going to have to throw the football to succeed against this defense.
So they will not be an RPO offense this week?
Oh, no, they're going to run RPOs. They're an RPO offense. This is another thing. They're an RPO offense, and I want to explain this to you. That's what they practice all week. You don't run what you don't practice. Jonathan Gannon spoke today. We talked about the defensive side, and you're saying, okay, what's he going to show new to Tom Brady? Well, nothing, obviously, but in a larger sense, he was talking about the short week, and I'm going to try to pull it up here. He said, we told our guys, I said I wanted to do a bunch of stuff on Monday. We don't have any full speed reps, so throw that out the window. This would be great, he said, the new coverage. Well, how are you going to practice it? How are you going to practice it this week? You can't practice it this week. The Eagles offense is an RPO offense. And I told you that story about Penn State. You don't run what you don't practice. So for people who want them to run whatever you want them to run, that's not what they practice during the week. So if you want Bill Walsh's West Coast offense, if you want Andy Reid's offense, they don't practice that. They practice RPOs, so they're going to run RPOs.
And if they're not going to be effective, what's going to happen?
Well, if they're not going to be effective, they're not going to win the football game.
Are they going to get
But
blown off the field?
well, if they play poorly, I mean, RPOs are very difficult to defend for most NFL teams because I don't want to, back in the day, if you ever watched, and really still to this day, if you ever watched Navy play football, if you ever watched Army, if you ever watched Georgia Tech, and they would run the triple option, they would give teams headaches. Um, Good teams, and they would ultimately lose normally because they just didn't have the talent. But they would give those coaches headaches that week because you can't justify practicing for a triple option offense because nobody else on your schedule plays it. So you can't waste time. You can only prep for it that week, and it would be often ugly until the talent would win out, and more often than not. But it would drive coaches crazy. And it still drives coaches crazy because you can't spend a lot of time prepping for something nobody else uses. Well, other teams use RPOs, not as much as the Eagles. Baltimore would be close, but from a larger standpoint, most of these teams in Tampa Bay is in this category. They don't face in a lot of RPO teams. You'll see it now and again. You'll see it more, but they're not going to spend a ton of time um, on it trying to stop it versus a more conventional offense, I should describe it. So at times they can be caught off guard, and you can get gash plays in that way. So you hope that happens, but no, if the Eagles don't execute what they do well, yeah, they're going to get blown out by one of the best teams in football.
John, what is it that they do well? What do you consider well from this offense? What are they going to do well on Thursday? Or what have they done well in the first 5 games that's going to carry into the game tomorrow? Or, I mean, not tomorrow, Thursday, 2 days from now.
Well, they haven't done much well consistently, I would say, but they're in the top half of the league offensively. One of the things that I always talk about in the RPO, it's not very aesthetic. I use that word all the time. It's not pretty at times. So people mistake that for ineffective. Now, again, everything is contextual. There's 32 teams in this league. So if you're in the top half of the league, you're better than most teams. The Eagles have been better moving the football than most teams in this league. And I think that's a lot of people don't realize that because you go back to the first half against Carolina, when it doesn't work, it's pretty ugly.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean it's ineffective at all times.
Different conversation tonight with NFL insider John McMullen here on Football 24/7 across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, all presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com. Remember to use that keyword JAKIB. Get 15% off of a 1-liter bottle. And for your tailgate on Thursday, the Stateside Vodka Soda, now in stock. Get it at stateside.com. Couple things left, couple more thoughts, Johnny Mac, from you before we say goodnight to you this evening. Any updates at all? I'm sure the answer's no, but I'm starting to wonder now if players are starting to offer opinions and thoughts on Lane Johnson. We don't know what we don't know. We don't want to speculate on what we don't know, but he's not going to play again, and it's still radio silence in terms of what's a matter. Now, I'm not saying we're entitled to know, but I've got to believe his mate's on the line. I've got to believe head coach Nick Sirianni. I've got to believe the start that people want to express opinions about it. Maybe it's just supportive opinions, but what's happening with that?
No, I mean the Eagles have been buttoned up on this because it is a personal issue in the fact that it is not a health related issue. It's not um, a issue where people have talked about suspensions in the past. It is truly a personal issue. So, Jason Kelsey was the one who talked about it today a little bit, and he just said he talked to Lane, he met with Lane, and he wished him the best, and said everyone in here, everyone in the locker room, everyone in the NovaCare complex loves the guy, which I can tell he's 100% true. He's one of the more popular players in that building. Has a great personality. He's one of those guys that is always fun to be around. And everybody's concerned taking away the football. But he always says, the person becomes the person is first before the football player. So now where I have a question about how the Eagles are handling this is they should give their fan base a little more clarity on the football part of it, and the fact that if they don't expect Lane Johnson back, you don't have to talk about the personal issue, but you should let everyone in on the football side of it. Don't expect him back, expect him back at some point. Now, Nick Sirianni finally said that when he was asked yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, all the days run together. He had put 65, Lane's number, on his visor next to Brandon Graham and Isaac Seumalo, 55 and 56, who were out for the season. And he was asked, does that mean Lane Johnson is out for the season? And he said no. He said, he didn't offer clarity, didn't say he would be back, but the Eagles weren't willing to go down the road of saying he was done for the season. So the hope is he will be back at some point, but the clarity is not there. And everyone is respecting the personal aspect of what is going on with what essentially is a from what I've been told, a very personal issue. So everyone should respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But there is the football side of it. I mean, that's what we do here. Let's be honest. I mean, there are bigger things, and this is a far bigger thing. And I agree with that part of it. But at the end of the day, people like me cover football. The Philadelphia Eagles play football. They have a lot of fans who pay a lot of money, and they probably deserve a little bit more clarity about the football part of it, in my opinion.
Good stuff tonight from John McMullen, our football 24/7 across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We'll let the one prediction from a week ago live and always be remembered. But I will ask you, last thought, John, give me reason to feel good about Thursday. I love to feel good about going into the game. I know it's Tom Brady. I know it's Tampa Bay. I know that if Jonathan Gannon sits back, Brady's going to just dump underneath. I know they're going to move the football. But I'm a believer in hope. Give me some hope, Johnny Mac.
Hope is two things. Short week. Tampa Bay is the team on the road, so you add the travel headaches into the short week and the lack of preparation time. The Eagles don't have to deal with that. The second is Tampa Bay is very banged up, and it starts with Tom Brady. Hurt his thumb while throwing for those 400 yards and 5 touchdowns last week. So he's got a bruised thumb. He's not 100%. A lot of other Bucs players, as I mentioned, are not 100%. Maybe they don't bring their A game to Lincoln Financial Field. Maybe you get a C game. And if the Eagles play an A game, all of a sudden, what looks like impossibility becomes upset that makes everybody happy. I wouldn't count on it, but I'm trying to make you happy, Krause.
Johnny Mac, Football 24/7 on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. I'll take that to end this report as we turn the page across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, all presented by Stateside Vodka. Busy day for Johnny Mac tomorrow. You'll kick off with Birds 365. You'll bounce out for the head coach's press conference tomorrow, and then you'll get wrapped and rolled in a lot of different stuff happening tomorrow. As your day is never as simple as a walkthrough, Johnny Mac. Great stuff. Thank you much, my friend, for jumping on here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, part of Football 24/7, presented by Stateside Vodka. On behalf of Johnny Mac, on behalf of Xander Krause, and all of our viewers, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Feel good, at least for now, about
some
Thursday.
Stateside Vodka. That'll make you feel good.
Yes, sir.